How did a writer for The Atlantic get into a Trump administration group chat? Democrats remain silent on Andrew Cuomo's mayoral run. And could AOC be the Democrats' 2028 presidential nominee? Republicans certainly hope so. That and more on this week's America Uncovered headlines. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. President Donald Trump has a lot of ongoing feuds. Trump versus judges. Trump versus the media. Trump versus Democrats. Trump versus literally every American. Oh my God, he's going to kill us all. Trump versus ISIS. Oh, that's what the White House was talking about. I guess throw Trump versus being taken out of context on the list as well. But no feud is as ugly as Trump versus Trump, because Trump is calling on Colorado Governor Jared Polis to remove a portrait of himself that's hanging in the state capitol. I haven't seen anyone this unhappy with a portrait of themselves since Dorian Gray. In a post on Truth Social, Trump called the portrait purposefully distorted and said he'd prefer not having a picture than having this one, which coming from Trump is a pretty big deal. Am I talking about his obsession with his own image, or the fact that he frequently looks like a self-satisfied frog? Yes. Okay, so how bad could this thing really be? Wait, this is what he's so upset about? Although for comparison, here's the portrait of Obama in the Colorado State Capitol painted by these same artists. So yeah, this definitely wasn't a skill issue. This was, let's call it creative license. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins announced the Trump administration is canceling federal funding for some interesting contracts.
We've canceled a $300,000 contract educating on food justice for queer and transgender farmers in San Francisco. We canceled a $600,000 contract out of Louisiana that was studying the menstrual cycles of transgender men.
One point of clarification, the latter was a study on female hygiene products in general, not just on transgender men's menstrual cycles. As for the former, I'm not upset that money was spent on that. I just want to know how you could possibly spend that much, $300,000, educating queer and transgender farmers just in San Francisco. What, is that like 9 people? This would be like spending $250,000 educating on sports justice for straight male figure skaters, also in San Francisco. Is the money going mostly to finding these people? Speaking of money, investors are apparently starting to believe Trump's reciprocal tariffs won't be as bad as anticipated, as evidenced by the stock market bouncing back with Tesla stock surging by 12%. Tesla stock is on fire. I can't tell if that's fitting or ironic. Speaking of flaming messes, by now I'm sure you've heard about the Trump administration. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, specifically, accidentally including the Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg on a private group chat where Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth texted war plans for bombing the Houthis in Yemen. If only cars could be fueled by references to Hillary Clinton's use of private servers for emails, then this past week alone would have rendered fossil fuels worthless. Democrats, which brushed off Hillary's emails as no big deal, are calling this a monumental security issue and saying that heads should roll. Meanwhile, many Republicans who wanted to see Hillary locked up are downplaying this, with Trump saying he stands by Waltz, that nothing classified was shared, and that Waltz learned a lesson. I'm sure he would be just as understanding and forgiving if this happened under the Biden administration, right? Right? So how did this happen? How do you accidentally include a journalist for a publication your administration doesn't even like? Well, Trump says it wasn't Waltz himself who added Goldberg, but one of his staffers. This has led to some speculation that the staffer might secretly be a leftist who wanted to make the Trump administration look bad. Others speculate this was intentional and part of a 4D galaxy brain chess move to manipulate the media into publishing the story that they wanted published so the Europeans and Egyptians will see what the Trump administration wants them to see regarding the Houthis. So either this was the Trump administration being catastrophically stupid or monumentally brilliant. Like most people see Trump himself. He's either the devil or divine. But the bigger fallout is over the Trump administration's use of Signal, a messaging app that deletes its messages. Some are saying that it looks pretty shady for government employees to communicate on such an app. The Trump administration is even being sued over it, with a lawsuit alleging that the use of Signal violates the federal law governing the preservation of government records. But more and more government employees use Signal, and this became prevalent and even encouraged under the Biden administration due to warnings of China and Iran trying to hack the White House. But the Pentagon is now concerned about the security of using Signal for obvious reasons. So the Trump administration might have to find some other way to avoid both hacks and leaks. And after the break, the second lady goes to Greenland. Sort of. Welcome back. Second Lady Usha Vance was set to visit Greenland with Energy Secretary Chris Wright and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Hopefully Waltz keeps his phone on airplane mode and doesn't accidentally text any other war plans of the Atlantic. Trump says Greenland officials invited them. However, Greenland's government says this isn't true. Greenland officials have called this trip aggressive, unacceptable, and a mess. So, in response, the trip was scaled back. Vice President J.D. Vance joined the delegation, and they only visited a U.S. military base instead. Greenland officials saw this as part of Trump's ongoing plan for the U.S. to acquire Greenland for strategic purposes. Though I don't know why Trump would want Greenland anymore, when in the ongoing pattern of people seeing Trump as either the devil or divine, an Orthodox archbishop compared him to the Roman Emperor Constantine.
You embody the values of our Christian faith and love for the gospel. You remind me of the great Roman Emperor, Constantine the Great.
You know, I think I'm officially giving up on being nonpartisan. When one side thinks Trump is literally Hitler and the other thinks he's the Messiah, it's impossible. So from now on, I'm just going to say anyone who disagrees with me is possessed by demons. But on the bright side, this holy bestowment can solve at least one issue. Forget Greenland, we're taking back Constantinople, baby! Genetic testing company 23andMe filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. This is amid privacy concerns after a data breach impacting 6.4 million of its customers occurred in 2023. So now, the only time you should spit into an envelope is when mailing an angry letter to an ex. Speaking of swapping spit against your will, sexual harassment. A report by the Associated Press revealed that 147 state lawmakers across 44 states have been accused of sexual harassment or sexual misconduct since 2017. The accusations are almost evenly split among Democrats and Republicans, which makes me think someone made a wish on a monkey's paw that there was at least one issue both parties could be bipartisan on. But hey, I'm sure now that this report is out, any previous politicians that were credibly accused, especially those that left office in disgrace over, won't be shameless enough to return to politics and certainly wouldn't be welcomed back. And in a story that in no way at all related to the last one, and especially that last thing I just said, Andrew Cuomo's bid to become mayor of New York City. Democrats, the party of Believe Women, have remained true to their morals and spoken out against him and his past alleged actions in droves. With some, what's that, Shelley? Oh, they haven't. Yeah, actually many top Democrats have remained silent on Cuomo's past sexual misconduct allegations and his new political aspirations, leaving one of Cuomo's accusers feeling betrayed. But I assume not as betrayed as the relatives of all those grandmas Cuomo's COVID policies got killed. On that note, 9 of the mayoral candidates united to attack Cuomo by standing in front of a memorial wall dedicated to New York nursing home residents that died during the pandemic. They demand accountability. Good luck with that. I've been begging for it for 5 years, and the closest I got was Cuomo being ousted for sexual harassment allegations, because those are Democrats' priorities, until apparently they're not. Speaking of disgraced predators, Jeffrey Epstein. The FBI is directing some agents to put aside other work and focus on redacting Epstein files, but limiting the redactions to just sensitive information about the victims and their families. Oh my God, it's happening. This is what I'd be saying if last month we weren't promised a release of the files, and it turned out to be a giant nothing burger with a side of nothing fries and a diet nothing Coke. At this point, the Epstein documents are like GTA 6. When it comes to them coming out, I'll believe it when I see it. But I've made peace with the fact that I'm as likely to see them as justice for New York's grannies. Bernie Sanders is on the road, traveling across America on his Fighting Oligarchy tour, which is drawing large crowds as Sanders pushes Democrats to fight oligarchy by removing corporate interests from American politics. And right there with Bernie is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. In her speeches, she appears to be trying to broaden her appeal within the Democratic Party, focusing less on framing issues as progressive versus moderate and more on which Democrats will stand up to Trump and which won't. She's focusing less on issues and more on identity politics centered exclusively around not being Donald Trump. She's planning to run for president, isn't she? That strategy didn't work out so hot the last time, but who knows, maybe trying the same thing and expecting different results will be the definition of a winning strategy this time. According to a recent CNN poll asking Democrats and Democrat-leaning independents who best represents the core values of the party, AOC topped the list with 10%, with Kamala Harris receiving 9% and Bernie Sanders receiving 8%. However, another poll shows that Harris is widely favored to lead the Dems in 2028. Maybe she can hit the road with her very own "same thing, fingers crossed for a different result" tour. But Harris and AOC would also have to contend with Pete Buttigieg, Gavin Newsom, and J.B. Pritzker also potentially throwing their hats in the race. I'm not sure if Gavin Newsom wears hats. Since he wears so much hair gel, hats would stick to it and they'd never come off. But then there's also, because of course, some Democrats floating even the idea of Andrew Cuomo having a presidential bid. Though I'm sure if this were to actually happen, Democrats would stick to their morals and speak out against it, right? Right? Though the truly insane thing is that Democrats are already talking about the next presidential election. We just had one. And they're already gearing up for the next one that's 43 months away. I swear American politics are like high school queen bees, addicted to the cycle of drama. To be fair, with all the Democratic infighting after their catastrophic losses in the 2024 election, it's obvious they need new leadership, despite the old leadership refusing to step down before they fall down. Again, yes, what Democrats need is a leader with vision, with integrity, which is why I'm happy to announce America Uncovered's officially endorsed Democratic presidential nominee for 2028, Chris Christie. Sure, he's a registered Republican. Sure, he hasn't announced his intention to run. Sure, my endorsement of him in the 2024 election netted him exactly 0 votes. But I support him, and anyone who disagrees with me is possessed by demons. Before you go, be sure to check out this other episode of America Uncovered. The algorithm knows is best for you. Is it an overreach? Sure. But it's for the best. Succumb to the algorithm. And as always, support America Uncovered and screw YouTube by subscribing to our new website, AmericaUncovered.tv. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thank you for watching America Uncovered.